Namaskar. Uh, Basically, I was in Mohali for some other assignment, and then thanks to Arya ji, Arya bhaiya called me up, and he has informed me about this conference. And I thought, since I'm very close to the conference place, why can't I come and meet you, and at least share some of our experiences and the things we are taking place in Bhutan. As Stuti ji have mentioned, that Bhutan is a country which doesn't count development on GDP, but the parameters of development is GNH, gross national happiness. And whatsoever the legislature decides there, the end product of any policy should lead to the happiness. And it's not only the happiness of the individuals, it's not only the happiness of the human beings, but it's the happiness of the society, happiness of the nature, happiness of the environment, and the happiness of the whole existence. So whatever the experiment we are doing there, through Jeevan Vidya, I take this opportunity to share some of those experiences, and I take this opportunity to share some of the contents of Jeevan Vidya as well. So these are the 4 points I'm going to cover in my presentation. The most important part of my presentation is whatever I'm putting forward, please do not assume it to be true. Generally what happens, if we get a proposal without verifying that proposal within ourselves, we start assuming it is true. But this is one thing I would like to request you, whatever I am saying here, please don't assume it to be true. It also means don't assume it to be false. You can verify this on the basis of acceptance. There is a faculty within us. And if you ask to your faculty, you will get an answer. Let's say an example. When you want to live with the feeling of, with the other human beings, would you like to live with the feeling of relationship or opposition? Yes. So this is what the natural acceptance is. So when I ask you these small questions, you didn't refer any book, you didn't refer to any other external source, but then you have referred to the faculty which is innate in us, the natural acceptance. And immediately you have answered to this question that I want to live with the feeling of relationship. So the whole process of this Jeevan Vidya education is based on the proposals. We put forward proposals to the students. Students verify these proposals within themselves. And if they feel that this proposal is naturally acceptable to them, and with this proposal they can live, and it can lead to the harmony, then only they accept this proposal. These are just little geographical informations about GNH and the Bhutan, but due to the time constraint, I'll skip all this information. This is Fourth King. In 1972, the Fourth King have introduced the concept of gross national happiness. And when we say the gross national happiness, there are 4 pillars, like culture, so the preservation of cultural heritage. This is one of the country where you will see that all the citizens wear national uniform. If you have to go to the office, if you have to go to the school, you have to put on your national uniform. So this is like one of the country where you can see these things. The another pillar of gross national happiness is the protection of environment. They have made in their constitution that the 60% of the land would always remain under the forest cover. And if you look into the today's position, then we can see that almost 79% of the land is covered with the forest. The third pillar of GNH is equitable economic development, and the fourth pillar of GNH is good governance. So the gross national happiness concept is based on these 4 pillars, and His Majesty the Fourth King have introduced this gross national happiness concept. Our Vice Chancellor of Royal University of Bhutan, Pema Thinley, actually how we got into contact with the human values, that Jivan Vidya. In July 2012, Pema Thinley happened to be in IIIT Hyderabad to deliver a keynote address in an international conference on value education in higher studies. And that time, like Aryaji have presented here about the Jivan Vidya. So one of the resource persons of the Jivan Vidya, Ganeshji Bagaria, he was presenting, the Vidya's views. So Dr. Pema Thinley, he got impressed and he was making sense. All the human beings can live with this. They can understand this. And this will complement gross national happiness. And he found that, the human values or the Jivan Vidya is in accordance with the gross national happiness. And this is how GNH has got into our curriculum. There are a lot of colleges in Bhutan doing these experiments. In fact, all the colleges in Bhutan are offering this course, human value course. I'll skip this. This is like one of the studies we have conducted there. Yeah, this is an important thing, I want to put forward, because you all are coming from a very reputed and esteemed education institutes. That what's the role of education? Now the situation has begun, like even when the baby is there in the womb of the mother, we start predicting that, I'm going to have a baby son or baby daughter. And not only that, but if I have a son, he will be a doctor. And if I have a daughter, he will be an engineer. So the baby is still there in the womb, right? And the moment we start sending our child to the school, the only expectations we have from the school is that the school will develop the skills in the child. And through these skills, the child will get an employment. So that's the only expectations have remained from the schools. And if you look at the society, how the society and the schools are doing the transaction with each other, you find that the schools are, like yesterday Swami Ramdevji have mentioned, we have to have doctors, we have to have engineers, we have to have professors. But down the line, it is also important that we have to have human beings. If there is a human being becomes a professor, he will become a good professor. If a human being becomes a doctor, he becomes a good doctor. Otherwise, we could see nowadays a lot of corruption, scams, terrorism, so many activities are taking place, which is, unpleasant thing. What do you think, who all are involved into it? The educated one or the illiterate one? What is your observation? But if you look at all these big corruption scams, if you look at all those things which is not really in favor of the society, not in the favor of the nations, all these things, the majority is being done by the illiterate people or educated people. It's a very serious question. And if you look into this, then you find that most of the things, most of these activities are done by the educated people. The person who goes through the process of education for 15, 20 years are finally getting involved into such activities. If you look at, these three fears that human beings have, like we have fear of natural calamities, we have fear of wild animals. We have developed our science and technology to that extent where we can predict the natural calamities and we can protect ourselves from the natural calamities. About the fear of wild animals, we have reached to the situation where the wild animals are getting fear from us. So wherever you go, in the zoo, in the national park, you will see the signboards. Please don't torture the wild animals. If you look at the third thing, the fear of inhuman conduct of the human being. What do you think, out of these three fears, which one is more predominant? Third one. This is where I want to draw your attention. See, if you look at on one side, Schools are increasing upon, education is increasing upon, professional education is increasing, number of graduates, postgraduates, doctorates, all these numbers are increasing. But if you look at on the other side, we also see that the inhuman conduct of the human being is also increasing. Means there is a serious issue with our education. Possibly we are creating doctors and engineers, but the base of the doctors and engineers, the human being, that content is missing out of the education. These are like some of the reports, like Supreme Courts also, and so many education commissions have pointed out these particular things. Now if you look at all these things, like if you see around us, we can see like trees and plants and birds and animals and human beings. If you look at the trees, and it has been mentioned by so many eminent speakers before me, that the conduct of the tree is dependent on the seed. Swami Shailendra ji has mentioned just a while ago, a mango seed gives up growth to the mango tree only. A conduct of an animal and bird depends on the breed. But if you look at the conduct of a human being, the conduct of the human being is based on the education and sanskar. We are not seed based, we are not breed based, but we are education and sanskar based. And if this value education gets into the part of the regular education, the conventional education, then there's a possibility that the conduct of the human being, which is moving towards more of inhuman, will come on the track of like human conduct. So this is where, I'm drawing. The role of education is to facilitate the development of competence to live with the definite human conduct. And I think this is a minimum expectation from the education, that the education should be able to teach us to live as a human being. So, important questions, is there need of such education? Another, if there is a need, then who is responsible to impart this education? Parents, teachers, society, and the third thing, are we ensuring it? We can explore these things within ourselves. As I mentioned this, is human relationship is important. You can check these things within yourself. Like, what do we all want? Look at whatever we are doing, whatever we have done in our life, whatever we want to do, aren't we doing with a simple, small expectations of happiness? Right? So if you look into the basic desires of the human being, we can understand that each human being has an urge for the happiness. We want to be happy. And if there's a small break in that happiness, that put us into a big contradiction. And during that moment of contradiction, when we are not happy within, we make the other also unhappy. So whenever we are happy, we make the other happy. Whenever we are unhappy, we make the other also unhappy. So if you look at our desire, these are the three small questions. Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be prosperous? Do you want to ensure the continuity of happiness and prosperity? I'm sure the answers are affirmative, yes. But if you look at our today's state of being, this is very important to know and understand. Are we happy? Are we prosperous? Is there any continuity of happiness and prosperity? So the general answers comes sometimes yes, sometimes no. Is this because of have we assumed that the physical facility is enough to make us happy? क्या हमने ये सोच रखा है कि पैसा है तो हम खुश हो जाएंगे? If that is the case, then see, like, look at this. This is a beautiful hall. Everything has been, nice infrastructure. Everything is doing well. Today, we are coming towards the 1.5 day of our discussions and talks. If all this infrastructure is there, but the people who are in this, sitting in this hall, if we are not having a feeling of relationship with each other, but if we are having a feeling of opposition with each other, if there is a feeling of jealousy with each other, what do you think? Will this hall make us comfortable? So there is a very minimum role of physical facilities. And if you look at the role of physical facilities, then we can see that all these physical facilities we can utilize for the protection, nurturing, and the right utilization of the body. These are the only three purposes of the physical facilities. Another very simple questions I want to put forward here, that if there is any unhappiness in the family, is it due to the lack of physical facilities, or is it due to the lack of fulfillment in relationship? See, our whole focus is on the physical facilities. Our all time and efforts we are spending on building the physical facilities. But if you look into the cause for the unhappiness in the families, is not due to the lack of physical facilities, but it is somewhere due to the lack of fulfillment in the relationship. So for the human being, physical facility is also required. It is essential. But relationship is also required. This is the simple conclusion I want to draw here. But if you look into the animals, for the animals the physical facility is adequate. Let's say, for example, if the cow is hungry, would search for the grass, and once she get a fresh grass, she becomes relaxed. But how many of us even feel happy after getting enough food to eat? Because there are a lot of things in our mind before eating food, while eating food, after eating food, isn't it? So if we think that only the physical facility is going to make us happy, so this is where, if we have assumed that only the physical facilities are enough to make us happy, which means it's like living like an animal consciousness. Because for the animals also, they have assumed, because there is no faculty of knowing and assuming, it's only recognizing and fulfilling is there. So they assume that they are only body. And the moment they get the needs of the body, they become satisfied. But if you look into ourselves, we are not only the body, but we live in the coexistence with the body. Human being is equal to the coexistence of self and body. So the need of the self is different, the need of the body is different. And if you look at all these physical things, these are just need of the body. Right? But the relationship is my need. The trust is my need. Happiness is that I want to have. The feeling of respect is that I want to have. So on the close examination, the list of the thought can be classified into two categories. Feelings in the relationship, this is like one of the important things for the human being, and the right understanding in the self. So right understanding, which means seeing the things as it is. Right understanding means reality, it means knowledge. I'm skipping few slides, because of the time constraint. So now it's becoming three things: right understanding, relationship, and the physical facilities. And these three things becomes essential. If these three things are required, then what shall be our order of priority? Where you will give the number one? Right understanding, relationship, or physical facilities? Yeah, you're true, Unless I have knowledge about the relationship, I can't ensure my relationship. So the right understanding becomes number one, relationship becomes number two, and the physical facilities becomes number three. So if I have knowledge about the relationship, if I have knowledge about the expected feeling in the relationship, and if I ensure those relationships within me first, the feelings within me first, And whenever I interact with the other human being, when I interact with those feelings, I remain comfortable within. And the feelings get transferred to the other person, and he also feels comfortable. So this leads to the mutual happiness. If I have an understanding about the need of my physical facilities, and if I ensure the need through sustainable production, then I feel prosperous and I make the Dharti Mata also prosperous. So this leads to the feeling of prosperity. This is very important to understand for the prosperity. Prosperity comes through the physical things. But the Sukh, Anand, it comes from the feelings. And to understand prosperity, the one thing is sure, that I need to have more than my requirement. If I have less than my requirement, I will feel deprived. But the very important thing, the correct assessment of my requirement is to be done. Then only I can understand, how much more is required. Otherwise, if I give you a glass without a base, and if I ask you to fill the glass with the water, it's the same thing happens. If I have no idea that how much physical facility is required for the protection, nurturing, and the right utilization of the body, then no matter how much I keep accumulating and accumulating, still I feel, have a feeling of deprivation. So these three things are required. But if you look at that, if the whole focus is only on the physical facilities, then this leads to the unhappiness. Because no matter how much you have accumulated, but still you are feeling deprived, and the moment you feel, you have the feeling of deprivation, you exploit others. This is the reason for the corruption. This is the reason for the terrorism. If you don't understand how much physical facilities we are required, we are exploiting the environment. This is the reason for the global warming. And this is the reason for all the, the environmental issues. If you look at our curriculum very closely, our education, the university curriculum, you will find that is mainly focusing on that red circle of physical facilities. Either becoming, creating employees or employer. But there is hardly anything is there in the curriculum which talks about the right understanding and it talks about the relationship. Therefore, we can observe that there are two categories of the people. The number one, lacking physical facility, unhappy and deprived. And the number two, having physical facility, still unhappy and deprived. While if you look into our natural acceptance, we want to get into the category of number three, having physical facility, happy and prosperous. Yes, and this is what the holistic education is. This is what the holistic development is, where the human being will learn about himself, human being will learn about the family, human being will also understand the society, human being will also understand the nature and the whole coexistence. If you look at each child has a potential to understand the whole coexistence, the whole existence, right? And if you look at, when I look into the expanse of my being, I see that I always live in the four level. As an individual, as a family, as a society, and as a part of the nature and existence. So for my harmony, for my happiness, it is essential to have the harmony in the family also, have the happiness in the society also, and have the, the harmony in the whole nature and existence also. So this is the human consciousness. And the transformation from this animal consciousness to the human consciousness, this we can define as the progress. This we can call as the development. So this would be the real progress and development when we will start living with the human consciousness, which means the right understanding, relationship. So if you look at the role of education, this is the role of education we are proposing. that the role of education is to facilitate the development of competence to live with the definite human conduct, which means our education will ensure that every child would have a right understanding, would have a capacity and understand the reality and the knowledge. Every child would understand about the expected feeling in the relationship, and every child would also understand the need and the requirement of the physical facility, and the child would also be able to produce the need and the required physical facility through sustainable development. So this is the transformation we are talking about. So for the education and sanskar, if we are talking about the definite conduct education and sanskar, then these three things has to be ensured. Number one, right understanding in the self of the child, and it's not only one child, few child, many child, but every child. Number two, the capacity to live in the relationship with the other human being. And number three, the capacity to identify the needs of the physical facility and the skills and the practice to develop it through the sustainable manner. If you look at our current education system, then you find that number one and number two is missing. It's completely missing. The current education system is focusing only on the number three, that's the physical facilities. And even if you look into the physical facilities, this particular issue is also not completely addressed. But the market economy is creating the needs. There is perceived excellence in the customers. But we are not still able to understand that how much physical facility do I require, isn't it? Let's say an example. I mean, if you talk about the clothes, then we know that the use of the clothes is just for the protection of the body. But then we have connected this clothes with the respect. We have connected the clothes with the status. The moment we connect the clothes with the respect and the status, then the need becomes unlimited. But if I understand that the needs of the clothes is just for the protection of the body, then I can also do my correct assessment that how many pairs of clothes do I need. If I have one body, maybe you have 5 pairs of clothes, 6 pairs of clothes, right? But I can do the assessment, the correct assessment of clothes. How many beds do I need to sleep? It's a single one simple instrument, and if I have to park this instrument in the night, possibly one bed is required, and only that one bed is enough. Even if you have 3 bedrooms, you cannot sleep in that 3 bedrooms. Just imagine, if you decide to sleep in that 3 bedrooms in those 6-7 hours sleep. Swami Shailendraji have a sound sleep. But then if you decide to sleep in the 3 bedrooms, we cannot have that sound sleep, right? So if there is one single body, one bed is required. So for all these things, we can do the correct assessment of our need. So this particular part is also missing from the education. So, again I am coming back to the same definition in education. So the role of education, sanskar, is to facilitate the development of competence to live with definite human conduct by ensuring these 3 things: right understanding, relationship, and the physical facilities. Education, which means developing right understanding. तो शिक्षा का मतलब होता है सही समझना. संस्कार का मतलब होता है सही जीने की निष्ठा, तैयारी का अभ्यास करना, सही हुनर, तकनीकों को विकसित करना. So the right understanding about all the 4 expanse of my being and living at all those 4 levels of my being, this will lead to the mutual happiness and the mutual prosperity. And we see this possibility, if we adopt this particular model, then this particular model is creating a possibility that every human being would have a feeling of happiness. Every human being will have a feeling of relationship. Every human being will have a feeling of prosperity. Yeah, look at, if you talk about the relationship, aren't these 9 feelings you always expect from the other? Trust, respect, affection, care, guidance, reverence, glory, gratitude, and love. So these feelings are definite, and they are 9 in number. And if there is a mutual fulfillment of these feelings, we feel happy, and the other person also feels happy. Look at the moment there is a feeling of mistrust in the relationship cracks. Right? It's a very interesting thing, When this couple is not able to live with the feeling of relationship with each other, they go to the court of law. Right? And in most of the cases, the court passes a verdict of divorce, permanent separation. Look at the two people who are not able to live with the feeling of relationship, and they are going to the court. And the court grant the divorce, and we say the justice has done. Now, if the two people who are not able to live with the feeling of relationship, I think the court should teach them to live with the feeling of relationship, and then the justice will be done. If you look at the feeling of trust, right, this is such a delicate issue. If there's a small amount of mistrust in the relationship, whether it's with wife, with the son, children, mother, father, puts in a big discomfort, a big contradiction. Is there any provision of understanding trust in our education? There is no provision. Is there any provision of understanding the feeling of respect in our education? There is no such provision. And if a human child is not able to understand these feelings correctly, and if he is not able to ensure these feelings within himself, how he will live in the harmony with the family, with the society? And these are the reasons, so many inhuman activities taking place. So if you talk about the justice shall be ensured at the family level only. And the justice would nothing but recognition and the fulfillment and the evolution of the human-human relationship leading to the mutual happiness. If you look at the human goal, this is how we are putting the human goal. The human goal is right understanding and right feeling in every individual. The prosperity in every family. Fearlessness in the, which means the feeling of trust in the society, and the coexistence with the nature and in the nature and existence. And these are the 5 dimensions of human order. This human goal can be achieved through these 5 dimensions. We are working on it, we worked on it, and you can see Aryaji is like one of the examples who is living with this, living with all these values. So the education and sanskar, health and Sanyam, production and work, justice and suraksha, and exchange and store. So these are the 5 dimensions which can ensure our human goal. If you look at our today's education, what is doing it? There is a gross misunderstanding that today's education has created. Now if you look at, there is an assumption that the money is everything. And this assumption is getting rooted in every individual. So because of that, we can see that there is a madness for the consumption, madness for the profit, and the madness for the sensual pleasure. We always keep talking about so many product which is unhealthy, right? So the production of unhealthy product is taking place because there is a madness for the profit. It is taking place because the assumption is that the physical facility makes us happy. Because of, this accumulation can bring the prosperity, this another assumption is there. And because of this, there are only few individuals, who are accumulating more and more in the society. Instead of fearlessness in the society, we could see there is a lot of fear in the society. Exploitation, domination, this can be, seen everywhere in the society, and this is resulting into war and terrorism. If you look at the level of nature, human being is trying to show his mastery over the nature. So the exploitation is taking place at the level of nature, and that's where we can see the resource depletion. If you look at the universal human order, we can set the universal human orders like this. So this is the entry point where the human education can be introduced. And if a child is getting human education, then he can lead to the next phase in the society. So the society will also become like the society of realized persons who understand the societal goal. Then it becomes the human constitution. The nature of the society are the people living together with the feeling of relationship and the mutual fulfillment, and that again leads to the human conduct. As I begin my presentation with the same word, I'm studying the same thing. This is what the methodology of human value education. This is not based on the moral education. We never set up do's and don'ts, because we have been trying to change the human conduct by saying do's and don'ts. It's a very simple examples I can give you. Like Arya Bhaiya was mentioned about Anukaran and Anusaran. We keep expecting our child shouldn't lie. हमेशा कहते हैं बच्चों को ना, like millions of times we have heard this word, don't lie, don't lie, don't lie. But if you look into the detail, who is making them to lie? जब बच्चा छोटा सा होता है ना, possibly 3-4 years old boy, he is there in the family, in your own house, and somebody comes and knocks the door, and you want to avoid that person. Immediately you say, go and tell the uncle that I am not there in the home. Does this happen or not? We are watching the television, and while watching the television, we are expecting that our child should not watch the television. ऐसा हो सकता है क्या? These are the things that are happening. If you look at the young child, especially from 8 months to the 6 years, he imitates every small thing you do. This young child becomes like a toy in the family. And if any guest comes, we say, "Beta, batao दादाजी कैसे चलते हैं?" जो बच्चा जिसने कुछ नहीं देखा, who is only 3 years old, he exactly walk like the Dadaji walks. Not only this, but he also imitates the habits of the mother and father in front of the guest. Right? इसी एज के बच्चों को भी, we these children, इन बच्चों के हाथ में पेन और पेपर दे दीजिए, they can draw beautiful paintings like, house, rivers, plants, animals, flowers, so many things. They see in the existence and they can draw it. They can speak minimum 2,000 to 3,000 words with the same tone and accents. कहीं से हम सिखाते हैं उनको? अगर हमें कोई लैंग्वेज सीखनी है तो कितनी मशक्कत करनी होती है, लेकिन बच्चों को देखा जाए तो वो आसानी से ये सारी चीजें अनुकरण कर रहे हैं, अनुसरण हो रहा है और सीखते जा रहे हैं, एंड दे डेवलप देयर स्किल्स. अब यही इतना सारा करने वाला बच्चा, द मोमेंट वी सेंड हिम टू द स्कूल, और एक छोटी सी एक चीज उसको लिखने के लिए हम लोग कोशिश करते हैं, ए जिसमें 2 दंडी लगी है, एक बीच वाली दंडी लगी है, ही फाइंड्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट. राइट? लुक एट द वन हु कैन ड्रॉ फ्लावर्स, हु कैन ड्रॉ सन, मून, उसके लिए 2 आड़ी दंडी और बीच में से एक खड़ी दंडी में क्या दिक्कत है उसमें? But then the reason he finds difficult, because when he look into the existence, he see the river, he see the moon, he see flower, but there is no existence of A in the whole universe. So we have to connect that A with an apple. So the moment we say A for an apple, the child connect it with an apple, and then he start learning. Look at this, everything in the existence, and we learn through the existence only. So this is how I'm putting forward again the same thing for the transformation from this inhuman conduct to the human conduct. It's very essential to have the humanized education. We have been doing this experiment in Bhutan, and there are tremendous visible impact we could see in the last couple of years. There are 31 universities in India also have adopted this particular course in the curriculum, and we have been working on these particular issues. So as the Arya Bhaiya was mentioning about, ये बात तो पूरी 7 दिन में रखी जाती है, तो we conduct the workshop for the 8 days residential workshop. आपके लिए एक अच्छी बात भी बता देता हूँ कि we don't charge for this workshop. So if anybody is interested, joining, right, तो पूरे 8 दिन के रेसिडेंशियल वर्कशॉप होती है. हमारी सिर्फ इतनी एक्सपेक्टेशंस होती है कि वो पूरा जिस तरीके से स्तुति जी ने और शिशिर भैया ने ये पूरा ध्यान रखा है कि ये रेसिडेंशियल कॉन्फ्रेंस हो जाए, उसके पीछे ना देयर इज सम रीजन बिहाइंड इट. सो द सेम वी डू 8 days रेसिडेंशियल वर्कशॉप. प्रशांत जी हमारे साथ में आ चुके हैं. प्रशांत जी अगर कहीं है तो हाथ खड़े कर सकते हैं. हाँ जी, प्रशांत जी यहाँ पर है. अगर किसी को भी आने वाली जो वर्कशॉप है उस वर्कशॉप के बारे में जानना चाहते हैं तो प्रशांत जी आपको सारे डिटेल्स दे देंगे. स्तुति जी इससे पहले कि मुझे रोके, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर लिसनिंग टू मी.